How did the United States, a country that began as a cluster of 13 colonies, grow to dominate an entire continent? What deals, wars, and strokes of ambition shaped the map we know today? From land purchases that seemed like bargains to conflicts that redrew borders, the story of how America acquired its land is filled with drama, ambition, and more than a little controversy. By the end of this video, you'll see the USA map in a new light. The journey began with the 13 original colonies, declared independent from Britain in 1776. These colonies formed the heart of the new nation, but even then, the dream of expansion loomed large. After the Revolutionary War, the Treaty of Paris in 1783 handed over land stretching to the Mississippi River, doubling the fledgling nation's territory. However, the most transformative acquisition came in 1803 with the Louisiana Purchase. Thomas Jefferson's administration struck a deal with France, purchasing 828,000 square miles of land for $15 million, roughly 4 cents an acre. This single transaction doubled the size of the U.S. and opened the door to westward expansion. Expansion didn't stop there. In 1819, the U.S. turned its attention to the southeast, acquiring Florida from Spain through the Adams-Onis Treaty. This deal settled border disputes and gave the U.S. control of a region that had long been a point of contention. Then came Texas and the Southwest, territories acquired through a mix of annexation and conflict. 1845 Texas was annexed, but disputes over its southern border led to the Mexican-American War, 1846 to 1848. The resulting Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo handed over a massive swath of land, including modern-day California, Arizona, Nevada, and Utah, adding 500,000 square miles to the U.S. The story of expansion took a surprising turn in 1867 with the purchase of Alaska from Russia. Known as Seward's Folly at the time, this $7.2 million deal was mocked for acquiring what many saw as a frozen wasteland. Yet, Alaska was a treasure trove of natural resources, from gold to oil, and remains a vital part of the U.S. today. Finally, in 1898, the U.S. expanded its influence into the Pacific by annexing Hawaii. Unlike other acquisitions, Hawaii's integration into the U.S. came through a controversial overthrow of its monarchy, followed by formal annexation. The island's strategic location made them essential for America's growing naval power and its role on the global stage. From the Louisiana Purchase to Hawaii, each acquisition played a crucial role in shaping the United States we know today. But the story doesn't end here. While the Continental expansion was largely complete by the late 19th century, America's ambition for territorial growth took a new direction beyond its borders. Up next, we'll uncover how the U.S. expanded beyond its mainland, claiming territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and American Samoa. But have you ever thought, why does a nation that already spans a continent hold onto distant islands scattered across the globe? The U.S. is home to 5 main territories today: Puerto Rico, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and American Samoa. While these territories are not states, they are integral to America's global presence. But how did they become part of the U.S.? Let's start with Puerto Rico, acquired in 1898 after the Spanish-American War. Along with Guam and the Philippines, it was ceded by Spain as part of the Treaty of Paris. Puerto Rico quickly became a key outpost in the Caribbean, valued for its strategic location and resources. Today, its residents are U.S. citizens, though they cannot vote in presidential elections, a topic of ongoing debate. Guam, another result of the Spanish-American War, is located in the Western Pacific. This tiny island is a cornerstone of America's military strategy in the region, hosting key bases that project power across the Indo-Pacific. Its location makes it a vital asset in the face of rising tensions with China. The Northern Mariana Islands, once part of the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, became a U.S. Commonwealth in 1975. Like Guam, these islands are strategically positioned in the Pacific, making them essential for military operations and regional influence. The U.S. Virgin Islands, purchased from Denmark in 1917 for $25 million, were seen as a defensive necessity during World War I. Their location in the Caribbean made them a crucial naval hub, a role they continue to play today. Then there's American Samoa, which became a U.S. territory in 1900. Unlike other territories, American Samoans are U.S. nationals, not citizens. They serve prominently in the U.S. military, and the islands themselves are strategically significant for naval operations in the Pacific. But these aren't the only territories under U.S. control. There are also lesser-known possessions like Wake Island, Midway Atoll, and Palmyra Atoll. These small islands might not have large populations, but they hold immense value. Wake Island and Midway Atoll were critical during World War II and remain important for military and logistical purposes. Palmyra Atoll, on the other hand, is a protected area but holds potential as a strategic asset. These territories highlight America's shift from continental expansion to global influence. They are gateways to strategic regions, offering military, economic, and geopolitical advantages. However, not everyone agrees with this approach. While the United States expanded its reach to include vast lands and territories, it didn't hold on to all of them. Some of its possessions sparked fierce ethical debates and eventually slipped away. One of the most notable examples is the Philippines, a territory acquired in 1898 after the Spanish-American War. At first, the U.S. claimed the Philippines under the guise of liberating it from Spanish rule, but instead of granting immediate independence, the U.S. asserted control, leading to the Philippine-American War, 1899 to 1902. This brutal conflict resulted in thousands of deaths and deep resentment among Filipinos. Over the next few decades, the Philippines became a significant U.S. outpost in the Pacific. It was a hub for trade and military operations, especially during World War II. However, growing Filipino nationalism and the global shift toward decolonization after the war led the U.S. to grant the Philippines independence in 1946. While the U.S. retained strong ties with the country through economic and military agreements, the decision marked a shift in its territorial ambitions. Another key example is the Panama Canal Zone, a strip of land surrounding the Panama Canal that the U.S. controlled from 1903. The canal was a marvel of engineering and a vital shipping route that connected the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. For decades, the U.S. used it as a strategic and economic tool, controlling access to this critical passage. However, the canal's control wasn't without controversy. Many Panamanians viewed U.S. presence in the zone as a violation of their sovereignty, leading to tensions and protests. After years of negotiation, the Torrijos-Carter Treaties were signed in 1977, which gradually transferred control of the canal to Panama. By 1999, the U.S. fully handed over the canal, marking another significant moment in its history of relinquishing territory. These examples highlight a broader pattern. America's expansion often came with ethical and political debates. Were these acquisitions acts of liberation or imperialism? Did the U.S. prioritize the interests of the people in these territories or its own strategic and economic goals? Critics argue that many U.S. territorial acquisitions were rooted in exploitation and domination, while supporters see them as necessary steps in building a global presence. These debates remain relevant, especially as some current territories, like Puerto Rico and Guam, continue to question their political status. But as the U.S. relinquished some territories, it also shifted its focus toward maintaining and expanding influence in other ways. What does the future hold for U.S. expansion? Could the ambitions that shaped the past still drive decisions today? While the era of large land acquisitions may seem like a thing of the past, the United States still has its eyes on strategic opportunities. From Arctic ambitions to the unresolved status of current territories, what might the future hold for America's expansion? Let's start with Greenland, which became a hot topic in 2019 when former President Donald Trump expressed interest in buying the island. While the idea was met with global skepticism and even humor, there's a serious reason behind the U.S.'s interest. Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark, holds immense strategic and economic value. Its location in the Arctic makes it a critical point for monitoring the region, particularly as melting ice opens up new shipping routes and access to untapped natural resources like oil, gas, and rare earth minerals. The U.S. already maintains a presence on the island through the Thule Air Base, a key military installation for Arctic surveillance and missile defense. Owning Greenland would give America an even greater foothold in this increasingly contested region, especially as nations like Russia and China ramp up their Arctic activities. But Greenland isn't the only possibility. As global warming transforms the Arctic, the region's vast reserves of resources are becoming more accessible, and strategic routes like the Northwest Passage are gaining importance. Some speculate that the U.S. could pursue stronger ties, or even territorial claims, with parts of Canada's Arctic regions to bolster its influence in the far north. While such moves might seem far-fetched, they underline the ongoing importance of the Arctic in global geopolitics. Then there's the question of America's existing territories. The U.S. currently controls 5 main territories: Puerto Rico, Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and American Samoa. For decades, these regions have grappled with their ambiguous political status, neither fully independent nor fully incorporated as states. Take Puerto Rico, for instance. As a U.S. territory, its residents are American citizens but lack full voting rights and representation in Congress. Debates over Puerto Rico's future, whether it should become the 51st state, seek independence, or maintain its current status, have been ongoing for years. Similar discussions surround Guam, whose strategic military importance in the Pacific makes its future a key consideration for U.S. policymakers. Could these territories ever gain full statehood, or is independence a more likely path? Public opinion in these regions is divided, with some favoring integration into the U.S. and others pushing for self-determination. The resolution of these questions could significantly reshape America's identity and its role in the world. So, is America's map truly complete, or could new ambitions bring about further changes? While large-scale land acquisitions may be unlikely in today's world, the U.S.'s strategic moves in places like Greenland and the Arctic show that the idea of expansion isn't entirely off the table. From its humble beginnings as 13 colonies on the Atlantic coast to a vast nation with territories spanning oceans, the United States has transformed into a modern empire with unparalleled global influence. Its story is one of ambition, resilience, and strategic maneuvering, marked by bold land acquisitions, hard-fought battles, and sometimes controversial decisions. What do you think? Is the U.S. empire still expanding, or has it reached its peak? Could the ambitions that drove its past still shape its future? Or is this the end of America's territorial journey? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep learning about history's most pivotal moments, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with friends who love exploring topics like this. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.